On this week's episode of Chat Chow, we'll be speaking to Douglas Rodriguez, chef of D.Rogriguez on Ocean, here on South Beach.
Well, you're drinking a very classic mojito, which is lime, white rum, fresh lime juice, topped off with a little bit of club soda.
Great, cheers.
Cheers. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, huh?
Yes, it is. I love mojitos, though. So it's a perfect drink for me. Really excited to meet you. You have a lot of fans out there, and actually one of them wrote into the show and said that they've been following you since your days at Wet Paint Cafe.
Wow.
Have anything to add to that or say to them?
Wet Paint Cafe was my first start as an executive chef at a restaurant. I was actually 21 years old, and it was on Lincoln Road Mall. And back then, most of the stores were abandoned on Lincoln Road Mall, and it was really a lot of art galleries. The owners of the locations would give free space to artists to hang their artwork. So it was like really like an art gallery walk. That was like 25 years ago, almost 30 years ago.
Very cool. Yeah. Now you've worked at the Four Ambassadors Hotel,
That's
Fountain Blue, Yukon Coral Gables. I'm going to continue here. Then you left to New York to go to Patria. How would you explain to our viewers the concept here, the D.Rogriguez here on Ocean?
Early in my career, when I was at the Wet Paint, I was introducing like Latin ingredients to that kind of style of cuisine. Like I did a pizza with chorizo and another pizza with lobster and mango on it. I used to have pastas with plantain, the actual pasta made out of plantain. Then I evolved more into, more ground into my roots. And of course, Yuko was my first chef opportunity, where I could really make a statement. So, I did a Cuban style cuisine. Then when I went to New York, Patria was more Latin American. So now here I'm more back to my, original roots, which is Cuban, the food that I really grew up eating, and something that's very close to me.
What ingredients inspire you the most? And I'm also going to ask in that question, maybe are there any ingredients that you don't normally or refuse to work with?
No.
No.
There's no ingredients that I refuse to work with. There are ingredients that are not sellable or marketable. For example, offals are difficult to sell. Anything from a sweetbread to, innards, livers. Those type of things are difficult to sell, but I love all ingredients. There's no partial, if the ingredient is great and it's something new, I love playing with new stuff. And I don't know, it's like an artist who you ask, what's your favorite color? Really, I don't have a favorite ingredient or a favorite color per se. It's just what's inspiring at the moment.
What is your favorite dish on the menu right now?
Here?
Yep, here.
Well, pork belly is my favorite dish on the menu. It always has been, and my motto for food is fat is the magic carpet ride of flavor. The more fat it has, the better it tastes.
You're very unique in your presentation. I've had the rabo whimsical, and the rabo encendido is in a can, and you've got the chocolate cigar box. How do you come up with these intricate presentations?
It's a really funny story about the rabo in the can, because that was inspired by a guest, a very good guest that frequents the restaurant. And he kept insisting, man, you got to put this in a can. You got to put this in a can. Every time you got to put it in a can. So one day he came in, he says, you know what? Next time you come in, I'm going to put it in a can for you. So I got on the internet and looked for a canning device to put it in. And we made some homemade labels. The canning device cost me $550. It nearly caused me, I was in the doghouse, let's just say, for a month. Now we're serving the oxtail in a can. And believe it or not, I sometimes literally have to tell people that I didn't buy it in a can, that I actually prepared it and put it in a can.
So now we've got a
shot of espresso.
Yeah. Pep you up. Have I been boring you?
No. It's just too early for a mojito for me. That's why I said it's 5 o'clock somewhere. But I need a little
A little pick me up.
A little pick me up.
Okay. You're very accomplished. You have restaurants. You had a line of clayware, earthware. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Clay cookware,
Clay
earthenware, they
cookware.
call it.
And you've published 4 books. What would you say is next on your culinary ride?
I'm working, my next book is a Cuban book. The book is actually completed. All the recipes, they've been tested. But I'm planning a trip to Cuba so that I could put the finishing touches on the book. I've never been, and I understand I'm not going to get a lot of culinary inspiration because there's not a lot of food there, but I can get inspiration by having a conversation with a house mom that might have a recipe or something. And from what I understand also, in the more out of the city, out of the urban, out of Havana, if you go into the countryside, you can still see some farm and some ingredients and still be able to try some food. And I don't really want to talk about any of the other plans that I have because anytime I usually start talking about it, I seem to jinx anything that it's a superstition of mine.
Okay, we won't go into
but
that.
But the book is in the works.
Last meal on earth, what would it be?
All right, well, wait a minute. There's got to be some.
Okay, what?
There's got to be some parameters. So I'm dying tonight?
You're dying tonight.
One last meal.
Yep.
All right. A dry aged 2-pound ribeye, roasted probably medium rare. A gallon of vanilla ice cream. Some chocolate. Preferably a gooey chocolate dessert, some asparagus. Can I keep going?
Sure.
Some Alaskan king crab appetizer, like some legs to dip in some cocktail sauce. Pretty simple stuff.
Great stuff, though.
Some good wine, some really, really good wine. Some old Amarone, some Latage. I've had a little tiny sip of it before, never had a whole bottle.
We recently interviewed Alberts Cabrera from The Local, and he had a question for you. And his question was, he knows you're a fan of Cuban music, and he wanted to know, why don't you play more timba at your restaurants?
Well, that's a good question because Albert knows I am a big fan. And whenever there's a Cuban band that comes to Miami, I usually go see them. And I run into him at a lot of the concerts and shows. But the reason why is because we have a company that programs our music for us. And I need to get more timba in here. Albert is right. I'm gonna work on it. If it was me programming the music that I had at the time, it'd be timba 24/7.
All right.
Yeah, he's
That's
right.
Great.
I'm glad you asked me that question.
Good question. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Can we do you want to do a final cheers with our espresso? I guess.
I'd love to.
This is what we're ending on. Cheers. Thank you.
Who lives better than us?
I know, really, right?